Hello, my name is Hernandez, and I like to play video games. I think they're the coolest things since, like, forever ago. One of my favorite consoles of all time was the NES, the Nintendo Entertainment System. Now this thing had a lot of great games. It had Mario, Zelda, Metroid, but then Nintendo went and outdid themselves and they created the Game Boy. Now this bad boy cost like $80 back in the day, which would be like $200 to $250 in today dollars. And it's not that bad considering that now you could take your video games with you and put it in your pocket and take it with you to school. You know, people always talk about the Game Boy like it was the only big deal at the time, but people seem to forget that it had a cool neighbor. The Game Gear. Yeah, look at this thing. This is a portable system, I guess. The Game Boy used 4 AA batteries and came with Tetris, and the Game Gear used up 6 AA batteries quickly. But the Game Gear had Sonic the Hedgehog, was in color, and came designed with a backlight. So not only could you play your games forever, but Sega released the Sega Game Gear TV tuner. Yeah, you pop this thing up and there you go. You got a portable TV player that fits in your pocket. Sort of. Man, no matter how hard I try, I can't get a channel on this thing. Maybe it's the antenna. Should probably go to Circuit City and see if I can buy a replacement. Okay, so maybe the Game Boy wasn't as lame as I was making it out to be, because the Game Boy also had a camera released for it. You pop this thing in and yeah, how's that for media convergence? Your video game player now serves as a camera and you can take up to 30 pictures and show them to your friends. Yeah, Nintendo was the king of the world at one point. You know, and speaking of media convergence, I gotta talk about the Sega Dreamcast. Now this thing was cool for a number of reasons, but what also made the system cool was that it could play CDs, like audio MP3 quality music. So not only did this thing serve as a video game console, but it was also a music player. So to solve the problem of the limited memory of the Game Boy camera, Nintendo also released the Game Boy printer. Now this thing would hook up to your Game Boy via link cable, and you could print out your pictures on receipt paper and stick them on your wall. Portable. So eventually Sega just jumped out of the video game stuff, and Sony released the PlayStation, which could also play MP3 CD music, but then Sony released the PlayStation 2, which could not only play CD music, but also DVDs. In fact, I was just watching First Blood right now, and now video games were pretty much video game consoles, music players, DVD players. And the PlayStation 2 could go on the internet to play online with people, so it was kind of like an almost computer. You know, video games were kind of taking over every single piece of technology and just putting them all into one single unit. Convergence. So to have the ultimate portable gaming experience, you need to have a Game Boy with your Game Boy camera for taking pictures. This thing takes up 4 AA batteries. You need to have a Game Boy printer, so that in case this thing runs out of memory, you can print them out. This thing takes up 6 AA batteries. You need a link cable so that you can plug these two together so you can print out those pictures. You need to have a Sega Game Gear with a TV tuner so that you can have portable colored backlit action on the go with a TV. And you're probably going to want a Sega AC adapter for your Game Gear because this thing also takes up 6 AA batteries. And then you need to carry around the gaming cartridges. Or you can just get a 3DS, which can go on the internet so you can watch YouTube videos, which is pretty much the new television. It's got cameras on the inside and on the outside for 3D pictures and for 2D pictures. You can store games digitally on this thing, so you don't have to worry about bringing cartridges along, and if you do, the cartridges are considerably smaller, and yeah, it's backlit, has color, the battery is rechargeable, you can also upload your music onto it. Yeah, I think you might just be fine with one of these.